West Ham's dire midfield could finally be getting the transformation it needs. Finally. It looks like we've had a bid agreed and accepted from Southampton for Mateus Fernandes, a deal that looked to be off, done, finished after they wanted 50 million. We've apparently got a deal agreed for 35 million pounds for Southampton, which is some great business. Magassa is set to be announced today, and there is a third name. There is a third midfielder, three midfielders. Am I dreaming? I don't know. This has been reported by ex-employee, West Ham ex-employee, and other sources as well are also confirming this. And do you know what? What a turn of events. The fact we're coming into the last week and our entire midfield could be completely transformed. Let's talk about Mateus Fernandes, very highly rated midfielder from Southampton. Real upgrade, I think, on Ward-Prowse. Can carry the ball, technical ability in abundance, can also put a tackle in, a bit of physicality, what we need, alongside Magassa, both 21 years old, brings down the average age of that squad even more. Magassa, a little bit more defensive midfielder, but can progress the ball as well. Both players that can get stuck in and get physical, which is exactly what we need. It really is. And you go from the likes of having a midfield of Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez to these two, brilliant. Like, the only thing for me is you need an experienced head in there. Ideally, I think it's good to have an experienced person in there. That could have been Edson Alvarez. I think would have been perfect in that role, Mexican captain, but you don't get on with Potter. So we're apparently, according to X, in the mix for a third midfielder, and that is Justin Timber from Arsenal's brother. And this is the box-to-box midfielder that we've been looking for. He's 24 years old, so a little bit more experience from Feyenoord. And again, a player that can carry the ball. That's what we really struggle with, actual ball carriers. Everyone wants to stand and pass. We need someone to get the ball, take the game by the scruff of the neck and drive it. And to get three players in that can do that, massively upgrades what we have, massively improves us. Players that are, can make intelligent passes. It's refreshing. It's going to be very refreshing to watch and should make us a much better team all around, because we know that midfield is a weakness. Apparently should see the exits of Andy Irving and Guido Rodriguez. Looks like Ward-Prowse, the vice captain, is staying. And you just know Graham Potter's going to be starting him every week. So listen, if he's got better midfielders alongside him, maybe that'll be better, and he's got that experience in there. But we need to get to a point, I think, someone like Quinton Timber. It depends if he's playing like three midfielders. You could do a midfield of Timber in the 8 as the box-to-box, Magassa as the sort of holding 6, and then you've got Fernandes as that number 10 attacking midfielder if Paqueta does end up going. So if Paqueta stays, then it gives us some much needed squad depth. I do question whether he's going, because where does this money come from? Because then we've spent 50 mil on two midfielders. I'm not quite sure what the funds are, the fee is going to be for Quinton Timber, but that could take it to over 60 mil to 70 mil, for the three midfielders, which could we spend without a sale? Andy Irving, we won't get much for. Rodriguez went from being 6.5 to potentially going on a free. He's played a bit more football. Let's see if that shop window theory works and someone actually wants to pay money for him. He weren't bad at Wolves up until the penalty he gave away. He weren't bad, but that doesn't mean I keep him. But yeah, like this, I think can make a massive difference. And then you get the likes of Somerville coming back into the side. That pace and energy that we need in the team. All of a sudden, we are a much quicker and more dynamic team. And then Potter can't hide. Once you start getting these players in, mate, there is nowhere to hide. Because, we can all say he hasn't been backed and, he's been thrown under the bus. But he hasn't picked the best team available. Now you're getting your players in, mate. I feel like even if we lose to Forest, we'll, likely see him being the manager past the international break. So, with Magassa potentially signing today, obviously Fernandes is doing his medical, could be announced tomorrow. I can't see them being involved for Forest, even if they're eligible to be involved. Just knowing Potter, he'll probably, you know, just have the same old out there, which will be mad. Like, if you can get any of these in, get them in. I know they've got to do training and that, but obviously what we have is not good enough. Try something else, because what we have is not going to get anything against Forest. And you don't want these new players coming in to, you know, an absolute car crash. Now, the signing should just give the whole club a bit of a lift. You know, the idea that we're getting in some better midfielders and we're improving an area we've all been crying out for should provide a little bit more optimism for the fans and the rest of the squad. The fact that Magassa can also play centre-back, I don't know how good he is as a centre-back, but that's good because that's an area we're suffering now. I would, in an ideal world, like to sign another centre-back. You know, if this was all we did, the window, we got these three in, then I'm somewhat content. I still don't think it's quite enough. You know, another attacker would be ideal. Another pacey attacker and another centre-back. Talked about another goalkeeper. I did a video with Brian and a mystery surprise guest that I think you'll all be happy with, that will go up later. So, at the end of the day, I'm happy if we get these players in. Midfield transformed. No excuses. We should be much better. We should be much better. And the thing is, what we're going to see with these players, you're not going to get abundance of goals from the midfield, though. That's the thing. Hopefully you get more creativity with Fernandes. But I don't think they're going to be chipping in with tons of goals, so we're going to need Bowen to really step up. And I think playing him as a striker is not it. It's not it. Put him back on the wing, change the system. And hopefully with these players, we can do that and go to that back four. And then get Somerville at left wing and Bowen on the right, and then a Fulkrug up top. I think that's the best possible option. Now with these new midfielders coming in, 21-year-olds, it's going to be harder for Potts. It really is, but at the end of the day, listen, you have to be a bit heartless and just want the best. Whatever the best midfielder is. If Potts can, you know, prove himself over these two, like Fernandes and Magassa, then great. You know, he's the same age. But if not, you know, that's just the way it goes. But he needs to be given opportunities. If he's not given opportunities, then, you know, it's not, you can't say you've given him a fair shot. So, yeah, like, listen, some positivity, some happy news in the midst of all this turmoil. And beautifully as well, Man United got beat by Grimsby as well. So I'm feeling a bit cheerier than I did on Wednesday. I was absolutely miserable. Now I'm alive. So listen, until they're holding the shirt, you never know. You can never bank on anything until they're holding up the shirt. So we'll you know, stay on top of this. Magassa should be announced later today. I think Mateus Fernandes taking his medal school, likely be announced tomorrow. And hopefully we get Quinton Timber over the line. So, listen, thanks for watching. Look out for the video I've got with Brian and the mystery guest, who I think a lot of you will be happy to see. Thank you for watching. One thing left to say. Come on, you are.